Welcome to the first day of Delica Tech Tips. I'm Rondo here with Nomadic Van, bringing you everything you need to know about tuning up your Mitsubishi turbo diesel engine. Today, we're going to be installing an EGT gauge onto a 4M40 turbo diesel. And in this series, we're going to break down exactly what you need to do, which gauges you need to put in, and how much maintenance is necessary before you tune your vehicle. And of course, our biggest reward is going to be bringing that puppy up to proper MPGs and proper power here at Nomadic Van. So let's get started with this EGT gauge, shall we? Everybody, welcome to the Nomadic Annex shop here in Ketchum, Idaho. We're really excited to finally be working on this 2.8 liter turbo diesel long wheelbase manual transmission. We are already done with all of the in-depth maintenance that makes this puppy extra reliable. Whole cooling system, intake system, all the way through, all the oil seals, everything that could leak on this thing already sealed up. So we're really excited to finally get down to what I love to do, and that's tuning. Now this thing can already do 80 miles an hour on the highway, but it's a long wheelbase, you know, it doesn't get there very quickly. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna plug in a couple of gauges, the EGT gauge, the boost gauge. We're gonna block off the overpressure release valve on the intake manifold, and we're gonna make it to where this thing is pushing 16 PSI out of the turbo rather than just the stock 12, which we're gonna have to compensate for that extra air inside the injection pump so that it's fueling properly, make sure our air-fuel ratios are perfect, and this puppy is gonna get 0 to 60 a lot faster, and it's gonna get even better mileage, believe it or not, with our economy tune. Here at episode 1, we're going to be showing you the EGT gauge because it is the foundation of your ability to tune your vehicle. Peaks at 1200 degrees post-turbo are exactly what you need to be able to bring your exhaust gas temperatures to. We're going to be covering a multi-part series here on how to tune your van. So let's get this gauge in there so we at least have that to be able to start tuning with. So let's just go over what tools we're going to need here today to be able to plug in these gauges. We're going to start over here with the electronics. Now we've got our 12 volt tester here to make sure that we are plugging into the correct fuse. We're going to fuse every connection we put into the fuse block. All right, we use additaps, right? So these additaps here actually allow for you to use the stock fuse box, plug in the fuse that already exists in there, and then put a 5 amp fuse in for the gauge. All right, so we're going to use just a few of those. You know, we're going to need, of course, the wire strippers here, a little red wire, a little black wire. The EGT gauge that we use is actually quite simple, and it's just an intelligent PI gauge. This guy fits really nicely into the dash here. If you need one of these, hit us up. We have a few extra in stock, but this actually has a lot of different functions. However, we're just going to use the K-type thermocoupler, which is right here. And this can read temperatures from 400 degrees Fahrenheit up to like 2,700. Now our maximum EGTs on this van or the average vehicle are 1,400 degrees, right? So with this intercooler, it should be around 1,000 on average at full tilt. All right, so we're gonna actually drill this into a section of the downpipe just behind the turbocharger. Ideally, you put this before the turbocharger, but we're not gonna take this exhaust manifold off of here. All the gaskets have been done already. So we're just going to plug this in behind the turbo. We know there's about 150 to 200 degree difference between the exhaust coming out of the cylinder head and where this gauge is going to be. So therefore, if I'm reading 1,000 degrees on this gauge, I'm actually at like 1150. All right, so we're just going to go with that. And to tap the hole for this probe here, this is a 1/8 27 NPT. That's National Pipe Thread fitting. And this is the tap for that, all right? So I've got the tap properly set with this drill bit, right? So there's a couple different size drill bits you can use, but mainly you want this drill bit to be the same width as about the middle of your National Pipe Thread tap, all right? So this tap is tapered, and so it's wider at the bottom than it is at the top. So your drill bit needs to be the exact width, about the middle of that, or a little bit closer to the narrow side, all right? And you're gonna need some cutting fluid as well. You're gonna need a little tiny screwdriver to be able to loosen the bits on the back of the EGT gauge. And you're gonna need a 12 millimeter socket to be able to get the nut off of the back of the downpipe there, folks. So there you have it. There's the general rundown. Now let's get started with the process. All right, folks, so the first thing we're gonna do here is actually spray this nut back here. So that's where we're gonna put the thermocouples, right through there. So we're gonna take that bolt out, all right? And I've already sprayed it with penetrating fluid, so I'm just gonna have to break that puppy loose. It's not gonna be that easy because most of them, due to all the heat, are gonna be pretty stuck. So be careful not to twist it off. You're gonna have to maybe clean around the top of the bolt to really get it to loosen up, but here you go. She's out of there. So make sure you put some drilling fluid on your drill bit, right? So it doesn't overheat. You start burning your bits, you're gonna have a lot of trouble drilling this hole. Just barely fits, folks. Oh my God. First thing you do is you don't buy a Milwaukee drill because the chucks wear out in about 30 days if you're using it a lot. Sorry, Milwaukee. What a piece of... That is so obnoxious. Oh, this is a bullshit! And we're through. So there's a fair amount of metal shavings on top of the downpipe there. So I'm just gonna vacuum that up. I suggest vacuuming that up rather than using a pneumatic hose to blow it onto the ground, because you don't want those splinters in your back, folks. Metal splinters, no good. If we were to drill a hole into the exhaust manifold right now, those shavings would go directly into the turbine and hurt the turbo, right? So the only time you ever install your probe pre-turbo is if you take the entire exhaust manifold off, which clearly takes like an entire day rather than just, an hour and a half. 1/8 27 MPT tap right here going into the hole. Right, now I'm gonna tap this hole. What's that? I'm gonna tap this hole. Get your over here. Dude. Oh my God. Come on. That was fucking disturbing. I'm gonna tap this hole. Get your ass over here. All right, insert slowly and begin to turn with perpendicular exactitude. That's a word, guys. Hi-you. Right, grunting helps. Cursing helps too, but I'm gonna try to refrain from that for the kids. This is a bullshit. In case there's any children tapping EGTs into their L400s here. And you don't want to go all the way down on your tap, okay? You want to go about 7/8 of the way or so, because the diameter of this is quite narrow, actually. So the diameter here is similar to that of the tip of this tap, right? So if you tap all the way down on this tap, this is gonna bottom out before the pipe thread pinches, all right? So be wary of the width of your thermocoupler. Left hand. Okay, like that. I like how that feels. 7/8 of the way down, as you can see there, folks. All right, so you will see that where we put the probe, this is the downpipe surface that you have to protrude through, which is that's about 1/8 of an inch thick, maybe a little more, okay? There's a distance between that and the top of this hole, right? It's about 3/4 of an inch, okay? So your thermocoupler ideally needs to be centered in the airflow of the downpipe, okay? So the downpipe, right? Circular, yay in diameter, okay? You don't want your thermocoupler in the metal because it's gonna only tell you the temperature of the metal. We want the temperature of the air, so you need to make sure your probe is all the way in the airflow of the exhaust. So check it out. This is what I've been talking about this whole time. So you don't want your thermocoupler to sit like this. I don't want to tighten it down because that's just going to give me the temperature of the metal. So make sure you hike this all the way down so that you have all of this distance beyond where this bottoms out on the hole. One last thing about this, I'm gonna put it in the hole. So check this out. When I separate this guy, you'll see this little brass bit here. So that actually is called a ferrule, F-E-R-R-U-L-E, I believe. And so if you don't see that there's one of those in between these two pieces, this is not going to clamp down properly. That's actually, as you tighten this down, that expands and stops exhaust from going through this hole, right? So make sure it's in there or you're gonna have an exhaust leak. Now, let's insert into the hole. Here we go. So, probe going down, right? Nice, I can feel it tightening right now. It's just barely above the heat shield there. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a 12 mil and tighten that down. Travel pack. Forgot to mention you're gonna need a 12 millimeter for this project earlier. There you go, first we're tightening down. And I'm feeling it get nice and snug inside the pipe thread there. That's good, don't overdo it, okay? Now I'm going to, I just tightened the bottom section. Now I'm gonna tighten the top section. Make sure that your probe is aimed towards the back of the engine bay that way, because that's the direction we are going to put the wiring into the firewall. Just going snug here. Don't want to twist this puppy off in there, because then you're just gonna have to do it all over again. So your thermocouple wiring needs to go through the firewall, right? And so just behind the intake manifold here is actually a section that on this manual transmission, there's conveniently just a hole in the firewall. So I'm just gonna poke through this section right here. Okay. So feed that through there. On your automatics, which I know most of you have, there is a plate about that big with a couple studs and nuts on them. Just loosen the nuts, pry it out a little bit, and then put your wiring kind of in behind that, and you'll have the same result. We're moving to the inside of the engine bay, folks. Inside the cab, actually. Check it out. All right, so come on in over here, check it out. Seat is folded up for the cameraman. Look how nicely that folds up. This here is all the way back. 12 volt tester here, folks. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put in this add-a-tap here, okay? 5 amp fuse heading to this, to this guy, okay? This needs power, a ground, and 2 thermocouple wires, okay? So it's very specific on the back here. It's actually, diagram is on the back here, which is really convenient, I'll tell you what. And here as well, right? So it tells you where to go. Now, to figure out where I want to put this is, first I'm going to shut my phone off. Hey, yo.
So, that's a message to Mr. G saying, I need a...
Like I said, this needs power and a ground. So we are going to plug this in to a fully on position, right? So right now I have it locked off, right? So I'm going to look through the fuse panel and see which ones are off right now, okay, with this device. And then I'm going to turn it to the accessory position, right? Look through, find one that's still off, all right? Then I'm going to turn it to the on position, right? And I'm going to make sure that it turns on only in the on position, right? Because there's no sense in having this EGT gauge turn on when you're just sitting here in accessory mode. All right, it'd be draining power for no reason. So find one for the on position, that's how we're gonna do it. So I'm gonna take this guy, I'm gonna ground it out probably on the steering column here, all right? Down below, right? There's plenty of metal right there, some of it's rusty, but scratch your way in, okay? Turn this off, you're gonna hear this thing beeping, right? I'm gonna look through here. All right, so that one I could use, looks like. That one I cannot use right now. That one I cannot use. Looks like I can use that 10 amp. I can use that 15 amps. Let's just try these two, all right? So turning the key to the accessory position. So can't use that one because I want one in the on position, right? That one's still off. Boom! That's the one right there. Row 2, column 1, folks, the 10 amp right there, okay? So again, off in the lock position, off in the accessory position, on in the on position. Got it? So I'm just gonna pull this fuse here, all right? And that could be a little difficult. Second row, boom, right there. Take this and put it into your add tap on the first row, right here, boom. Hey, hey. Okay, so now this guy shoves right into that slot. And there you go. So now you have this section to add in some extra wire. Now I'll show you where we're gonna place the ground, and then I'll show you where we're gonna place the thermocouple itself. All right, folks, so ground wire here, all right? So you wanna have this wire long enough to where it can reach from where your EGT gauge is going to go, which is right here, down to a bolt that's on the steering column. So right up here on the steering column is a bolt that holds this guy on. So I'm just gonna like loosen this just a smidge here, right? Just enough to where this guy can just fit underneath it, okay? And then I'm gonna tighten that bolt down. All right, so that's where the ground is gonna go, but let's not put it there yet. Let's put the gauge in place, let this dangle behind, and then we'll attach it to the ground spot. All right, so there's a lot of different places that you can put an EGT gauge. Not all of them are shaped like this, all right? But this one perfectly fits in vertically right here, which is kind of nice. So pick one of these. I find that the one on the far inside actually works best because when you're actually in drive, you can see from your visual point of view perfectly down and see this gauge right in the dash, all right? So pop that guy out, all right? And what you're gonna do is you're gonna just, all you have to do is shave a little bit of where that fitting is on the bottom and the top right here, just a hair. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. All right, folks, so the width of this is almost exactly the height of that hole. So you don't need to do much. Now there's a little taper right here, right? And all I need to do is just move a little bit of this material here.
We forgot his booster seat today.
Yeah, no booster seat today. I am only 4'8", actually. No, everybody thinks I'm like 6 feet tall, but I'm actually 4'8". I'm kidding, I'm not 4'8". Got a little problem here. We don't have a step ladder in the back shop, so gotta get it right. Oh, redo. Here we go, going up. Oh, we're gonna get the right angle here, folks. Give me just a minute. So let's see how that fits. Oh, what do you know? What do you know? It's just gonna go right in there. I mean, I think it is. Oh, little piece of plastic in there. Navigate around. Oh, baby. All right, so I think I'm gonna have to do a little bit more. Whoa. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more because it's got these little pinchers right here. So if you don't shove it all the way in because you're not gonna be able to get it back out very easily. All right, so I'm gonna give it a little bit more room so that I can shove it back and it can pinch these in and grasp this right behind the screen. All right, so I trimmed it just a smidge more. All right, now I can get it down to right there. I'm not gonna push it any further because it's gonna lock into place. All right, so now I can still get it out just fine. And now I'm gonna attach my wires, folks. So I know that this is basically long enough. I'm gonna test my length here. Check here. I'm gonna hold it in place. This is where the cursing starts. Or the, negativity, because your back starts to hurt right here, folks. So I know that this is long enough, all right? Because I've got it on the groundings point, and I've got my hand on it up here in the actual section. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to do basically the same thing for the red wire. Okay, so essentially the red wire needs to be the length of, actually it can be an inch shorter than this because I've still got this little pigtail coming off of the fuse block there. Okay, so I'm measuring there, give it a little clipper-rooski there, give it a nice strip right here, and right, you're gonna go a little extra long on this side, okay? Extra length is good because of the way we're going to attach it to the EGT screen.
I thought length didn't matter, Ron.
It does in this category. Not all categories, okay? So, here we go. Now, let's get back up here to the probe. Let me grab my screwdriver real quick. Got my screwdriver. So here on the back, check it out. We've got DC 12 volt, folks. We got number 1 there is positive right there, negative. Okay, that is coordinating to those two guys right there, positive, negative. All right. On this side, okay, we have the thermocouple. Okay, right. Now, what's interesting about the thermocouple is that it's going to still give you a positive and negative. And you know, instinct brings you to think that the red wire goes to the positive, but that is wrong. Okay, counterintuitive, I know, but the yellow is the positive side. If you get it backwards, all it's gonna do is just gonna read, it's just gonna start going down in temperature. So anyways, to review, red is negative on the thermocouple, positive is the yellow. All right, so let's just start unscrewing these guys here. Hardest part about this, I mean, there's got to be a little tiny fitting I can put on here to just like slip this guy in like a little, you know, field goal shape. But I don't have any of those right now, so I'm just gonna take this here and I'm gonna wrap it into a little loop here, folks. A tiny loop, like this. Just a little guy, a little tiny loop like that. It's not very good. Okay. Okay. Let's do example on the first one so it's not so painful to watch me do all of them. All right, but basically I'm gonna go like this. Okay, and I'm gonna go like this. And you're gonna fight this a little bit. It might not be that easy. I might not even nail it right now, but oh my God, first go, first go. That's not how it goes every time, I will tell you that. Sometimes I get all excited and realize I put it in the wrong spot, but no, here, check it out. We've got the red on the positive on the DC 12 volt side. It's exactly what we want. Make sure you're nice and snug. You do not want this to fall out when you're on a road trip because you're gonna be fighting it. Your girlfriend or your boyfriend's gonna be really mad that you're just like messing around with the wiring, right? In the middle of your road trip. So just make sure you do this correctly, no matter how frustrated you may get. Short length and tiny hands is an advantage in this situation.
We need Bilbo Baggins to help us out with some of the wiring.
Yeah, where's Bilbo Baggins when you need
Big
him?
feet, though.
Huge feet, which is fine.
Might not go well with the manual.
Yeah, you might be pressing the gas pedal and the brake at the same time. Okay, so we're nice and tight. Nice and tight, eh? All right, now we're gonna take the thermocouple and we're actually gonna feed this through the dash. Okay, this is key. That's just coming through there. You see? You'll see what I say? Check it out. This guy comes through here. Okay, these ends are irrelevant in this situation, folks. So I'm gonna take these guys off. All right, strip these puppies down a ways. You might need a razor blade for this.
What's this?
Get out of here!
Get out of the Shire.
Get out of the shot!
Hobbits only.
All right, we just called for Bilbo Baggins. There he is.
Bilbo.
That's Gandalf.
We'll see you up there in a little bit.
We'll take the van, don't worry. For anyone wondering, those are not safety gloves. Those are the natural color of Rondo's hands.
Yeah, I'm actually a Smurf. That's why I love Delica so much.
Hobbit feet, Smurf hands.
Okay, fantastic. Now, folks, you're going to make sure that all your fittings are tight on here. Once again, right? Remember the road trip with your significant other. Imagine it failing if you don't double check them. Fantastic. And now, don't push it in all the way, right? Because you're gonna make sure that everything lights up before you just jam it into place, okay? So we're gonna start with just getting it marginally down, okay? Great. And here we go. This is where it all comes together, folks. All right, so we're slipping our negative into the negative slot, okay? We're putting our wrench on tighten mode. We're tightening down. It's happening. The negative is going into place. And it's tight, okay. All right, it's a marathon here. We're breathing. Oh, we're breathing a little hard.
Knocking phones out of people's hands. They're tiny
It's
hands.
so exciting. We're going snowboarding on the test drive of this thing, so.
Oh! We have another visitor.
Another visitor. We're at the climax. We're climaxing, Gardner. What do you need? What do you need?
I'm just gonna go pay some bills and go to the hill.
Okay, we'll be right behind you. We're gonna take this thing to the hill.
Yeah.
Right on. Sick. Would you mind backing out one of those vehicles for us?
Yeah.
Cool. Sicky fresh.
So
All right.
Ron, what are we doing now?
So now we're just connecting the positive. Check this out. Dun, 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 dun. No, what's the theme song for Star Wars? Dun, 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 dun. I did like the walking down the aisle soundtrack. That was hilarious, which was also appropriate. Anyways, okay, we're excited. All right, we're excited because we are turning the van on and, oh, we've got a 53-degree temperature reading.
Cue the wedding music.
Da, da. No, I know, I'm all confused. So there we go. And if we fire this thing up, we just want to make sure that it actually goes up in temperature. So here we go. We're just gonna. If it goes up in temperature, we did it right. If it goes down in temperature, we're screwed. We're going up in temp. We're stoked. But all my tools are in the engine bay. Make sure there's no tools on the intercooler when you start your van. So now that we know that it's all good to go, you can push this in, and it will level out very nicely in the center of your dash. You want to get a close up of that, just how pretty that is? Okay. How nice is that? All right. And then from this view right here, from where your head's gonna be looking through the steering wheel is where you're gonna see this. So get him that. So you'll be able to see this.
If you're normal height, not Smurf height, this will be perfect.
Right, exactly. My head's like way down here, but your
Plus
head's
he has
up
his
here.
booster seat.
Anyways, so there you go. There you have it. EGT Gauge install complete. But now we're gonna go and use it and tune this puppy. Mr. G is going to drop.
We're gonna drop in here once Dan gets set up. You know, see if we can land on our feet. That's the
Absolutely, and we got George here going
Let's go, baby.
for something fantastic down there, huh, George?
We're going for the backflip out there.
Absolutely. And Wolfie, what are you going for?
Don't mind me.
Mr.
G on the drop.
Attic team building adjourned. Now let's get back to work, huh?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in to our first ever episode of Delica Tech Tips. Rondo here, thanking you guys for coming all the way in and learning how to tune your Mitsubishi Delica. Next time, we're going to be covering boost gauge install and intake manifold gaskets so that we can get that much closer to boosting this thing to the moon. We'll catch you soon here on Delica Tech Tips.